Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am your host today, Laura.A, singing international real estate agent. Now, listen, today we're going to talk about something that's very interesting because people are really starting to come out and talk about their financial struggles. And it's not just one industry, but people tend to think that when you're in the entertainment industry, you making some bank. So today's topic is about a songwriter who is connected to major things. And her name is Summer Walker. And she said she is still working a 9 to 5 and she's still struggling financially after contributing to many actually successful albums. She's worked with several really well-known people. So this raises a real question. Can someone actually become wealthy off of one hit as a songwriter? Now, most people assume that if a project goes platinum, everyone involved is set for life. But songwriting income depends on splits, publishing percentages, advances, recoupment, many other things, and how the contract that you got was structured from the beginning. So today we're actually going to really talk about this. Is this system broken, or is this a misunderstanding on how the business actually works? So we are definitely going to talk about it. It is the first Monday in March. All right. I don't know about y'all, but I is ready. I is so ready for spring. Please, Lord, bring it on. I need it today. So if you are waiting for spring, go on and put that hashtag spring in there and ride with us in this March. Listen, I've got a panel of beautiful queens with me today. We have Marlo Layson, TV producer and journalist. We have Tiara Williams, Miss Black Hollywood, producer and vocalist, and all the magical things. We have Renee Williams, clinical research strategist. We have Debra Williams, two Williams. Debra will win. And then, of course, you've got me, little old Laura.A, your international singing real estate agent. Ladies, now, you know, this is kind of a topic to my heart because my circle is surrounded with entertainers. They're surrounded with singers. And the fact that people truly think that just because you're on stage, you've got a lot of money. So I'm actually going to start and ask you an initial question, but I'm going to start with you, Miss Black Hollywood, because you get it. Like, does this story really surprise you? And what are you seeing in your marketing for yourself?
Yeah. Can y'all hear that? Can y'all hear me? All right.
I hear you.
Listen, we're gonna thug through it. All right. Yes, good morning, everybody. Actually, Lala, there's three Williams on the panel. One, two, three.
It sure is.
It sure is. Williams taking over. Anyway, yeah, even for myself, I'm really learning, like, just really stepping into artistry, just how, even though I've watched for years, I mean, like, when I first got into when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was around so many songwriters, so many artists, from Tyrese to R. Kelly to, just all of these different people. And I got to, like, see how people were living and why they were living the way they were living. And I noticed that some people were touring and, so just, I got to see the gambit. Some of my friends, I remember a really good friend of mine who is he is responsible for Bruno Mars' last album. His name is James Fauntleroy. And I remember when he was writing Rihanna's album, her rated R album, from somebody else's couch, right? And so, like, he had already written, like, Chris Brown's album, like, it was already, or he had wrote Poppin' and another song for Chris Brown and With You, and very successful songs, but he was still, living on the couch. So, I've seen it for a very long time. That was 20 years ago. Now he ain't living on nobody's couch, but it's taken all of this time. So even myself as an artist, I'm learning, like, what it really takes to make money, if you make money at all. Like, it really has to be something you love, because the industry is not the same anymore. And that goes across the gamut of all entertainment industries, like being an actress, being a singer, like, all of that is, like, you just gotta love it
You
and
better love it.
have a job and
You
have
better
some
love it.
other source of, and diversify.
You know, it's interesting when you said that. There is an artist that I absolutely love, and it's Raul Madon, and he travels quite a bit. He was traveling through Europe, and a few years ago when we saw him, he had a question and answer subject during his show at the end, and someone asked him, "Hey, you know, what advice would you have for a young artist who's really trying to get in this business?" And he literally said, "Don't do it." And and you could tell that he was really hurt by the industry. That came from a place of hurt, even though he knows that that young man, if that's his passion and his calling, he's going to do it anyway. But that spoke volumes right there that said, don't do it. It's a hard industry. It's a hard way of life. Debra, what did you think of when you first heard that, you know, she's still working a 9 to 5 and she's got a successful album?
You know, I've heard her conversations about her still working the 9 to 5, that she does housekeeping. She was doing housekeeping before she got into the industry, and also being a midnight ballerina. And I said, oh, okay, like you got to keep your skills up, keep your skill set up, because the market changes, the industry gets funny. People say they're going to do things for you, and then when you look up, they're not there anymore. You know, there's a lot of promises, but it's not always kept promises. So you got to keep your skill set up.
Are we talking about Summer Walker or Michaela?
No, Summer Walker.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. All right. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. Midnight Ballerinas. Okay,
Midnight Ballerina. I'm sorry. That was a nighttime job she had, girls.
She was a dancer.
Well, I mean, that kind of ties into something I sent you to earlier, T. I hope you saw it, because I will bring it up. Renee, what was your thought about, you know, her, you know, being successful with an album, however, still working a 9 to 5 job?
Well, most artists do that. I mean, a lot of artists, because I'm a creator, but any industry, that we have to have the business mindset of not just being a creator, but an owner. And that, you know, just with the basketball players, all of them, they like, this is my craft, this is what I do, I hoop, but at the same time, then they lose a lot. Like I just saw some 10 basketball players who are now janitors, whatever, in different industries, and they lost hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's because, of course, we have not been taught how to think as an owner and how to monetize our gifts, other than just going deep into being creative.
I think nowadays everybody feels like they have to do it all, but we can't. I mean, then yet we turn around and we tell people to, like, you can't do it all. You need to be able to assign people other jobs. But at this point, you do got to do it all. It becomes really hard. Marlo, what is your thoughts about this? I mean, she's still working 9 to 5s and doing the midnight ballerina thing.
I think. Well,
hold on, y'all.
I think we have two conversations going.
Yeah, we're having two different conversations. Thank you, Laura.
Wait a minute.
Summer Walker is not the person we're talking about.
Yes, we're talking about a songwriter who worked on Summer Walker's album. She's written songs for Summer Walker and other artists, and she's saying that she still has a day job, right?
So we're talking about the songwriter.
The songwriter, yes.
Well, what's her name?
Michaela. What is it?
Well, let me play the video then, because no, go ahead, Marlo. What did you think?
Oh, so I was just gonna say, I was watching Trevor Noah's podcast, and he was talking to Josh Johnson, the comedian, and Josh Johnson is on the Daily Show. Josh Johnson was saying the same thing. He was like, look, I was writing for the Tonight Show. I love the Tonight Show. That was like a dream job, but I still was working at the grocery store, right? And then he got a job working for Jimmy Fallon, being a writer, and he was still working at a grocery store in New York City, right? He was still doing another job while he was living in New York City, because these jobs are fickle, right? You could get a new executive producer that could take the show in a different direction. You could have a successful song on a successful album, but if you didn't have your paperwork straight on the front end, you won't get the royalties that you maybe deserve, or maybe you're just starting out, or maybe the label didn't put a whole lot into the project, right? So you said, I believe in this project, you pay me X amount and you can have this song, right? We don't really know what the back end dealing of it is, but I think that it's normal for people in the entertainment industry to be doing multiple things. And if people don't want to be broke, a lot of people are going to be doing multiple things because a show could get canceled. Y'all see how quickly the Colbert Show, like just out of the blue, was a casualty, right? In May, those writers will not have jobs if they don't have something already lined up. So the entertainment industry is a fickle mistress, and you got to have something else to fall back on for sure. And I think that most people in the industry absolutely know that.
Yes.
I think it's true, but then we just had a show last week about how people got to have 2 and 3 jobs in the first place, just falling right in line. Before we go on to the video, I do want to say, to mention, there's been great conversation from our family. So keep them coming. Now, everybody else seems to be wanting some spring too. I hear you. We're going to pray for the spring. All right. So, Incog says songwriters and producers are not getting paid like they used to. Plus, if they are writing for a top A-list talent, they often get strong-armed into a crappy deal. And then Incog also says, unless you're Sade, you're not getting the songwriter deal that her ilk is getting. And then Melkon says the music industry isn't what it used to be. Now they're too much money grabbing from the artists as they are getting the short end of the stick. America is a very corrupt and not giving the artist his due. Well, that's been going on from day one. Incog also says the gag is a lot of people in the arts are midnight ballerinas, yacht girls, or madam to sustain themselves, unfortunately. And then Dr. Vibe said, if you create it, do your best to own it. Now, with that being said, so Lala can get herself unconfused, let's check out this video and then we'll get back into the conversation.
Viral videos documenting their current financial struggles. In a shocking look behind the curtain, one female producer reveals she cannot afford her rent, while a co-writer shared footage of themselves closing a restaurant after their shifts just to make ends meet. Is a major label credit still the dream if you still have to work a 9 to 5 just to keep the lights on? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For more exclusive industry news that doesn't make it to the main feed, make sure to subscribe to sscradio.com.
Well, that begs to ask the question, Tiara, can a songwriter realistically get rich off of one hit?
It's very hard in today's climate of music. Absolutely not. It's not, especially the way points are structured and just the way that you just can't. You can't. An artist can't get rich. Well, they can get rich off one hit, but even that is like, really, it's the luck of the draw, it's timing, it's all of the things. But yeah, I would say no for the songwriters, just because of the way the business is structured and the points are set up. I mean, they're really, literally low on the totem pole in terms of ownership.
And true, but a lot of artists are not writing themselves. They're depending on other people to do that for them. They're not the ones who are actually sitting behind and pulling their hair out trying to come up with lyrics. And one of the things that we are seeing is people now are trying to credit everybody and their mama and their dead uncle on the left-hand side, twice removed, on the album. And so when you're going to the album and you're looking at these writers and these credits, you're seeing over 50 to 100 people on this album, all trying to get some kind of credit. And this is just not how it works. Whereas it's tied into, like Chuck Berry, for many, many years, didn't get all of his writing right. He said when he looked at his paperwork, he was like, I don't know these people. They have writing credits. Where did they come from? I don't know them. So, Debra, how do you think publishing is affected with this, and why does publishing really matter?
Publishing matters because you want to get paid. You really want to get your coins, and you don't want another publisher to get recognized for the hard work that you've done and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into writing a song, especially if the song is a hit, it goes viral, they're using it for a jingle. You want all your coins to jingle into your pocketbook or your wallet. That's what you want.
That's what you ultimately want. That's what you really do. But sometimes, it's really interesting because a lot of these, recording contracts and stuff, record companies are actually coming to people that they see that are being successful online. And they're like, oh, do you want a record contract? And most of these artists nowadays are like, no. Where were you when I was building it? What are you going to give me? You just want me to turn over everything to you, but you don't want to give me those benefits. But we talked about some of these fees and things that people have to pay back. So Renee, can you kind of let us know, what does recoupment mean in a contract?
Recoupment means to me, after the producer takes 50 to 80% of the cut, then you recoup for the artist, maybe 2-3% when you get everybody else in line. So there really isn't a recoupment other than what the producer is getting, because they get the main lion's share of it all. And so we go back, as we all are saying, is that we have to think about, when I listen to the different, like Janet Jackson, they always say, I just produced this, or I just made this. Now they're talking about they are the producers of what they're doing. So obviously that is the way, you have to think about it. They're just they're employees of the industry, of their industry. And, they're a really good artist and they can sing and they can do it. But then at the end of the day, they go home and they built a beautiful record that's selling a lot of money for the producer. And then they go home to their small apartment and they're creating for the next gig.
It's interesting that you would say that, because I just watched a video with Katherine Jackson. And this was many, many years ago. And her and Joe were sitting down talking about their boys, because, they talk about in flame terms. They're like, listen, y'all may go and be an accountant. You may go and be an attorney. My boys' jobs is music. It's a job. It is a 9-to-5. This is what it is. This is not something any different. It's just that their job is on the world stage. But with that being said, Marlo, you even though that's happening, do you think that songwriters are usually getting paid up front and then all of a sudden things change?
I mean, I think it depends. I've heard it all different kind of ways, right? There was a time when hip hop was forcing radio or record labels to look at collaboration, because before there was no collaboration, right? Having an artist that was on one label and an artist that was on another label doing a thing together was almost unheard of unless it was a soundtrack. So now, you look at hip hop and how Mary J. Blige is happy to say now she was going behind, I think it was Arisa she was signed to at the time, but go and get her coins, right? She didn't go through the label process. The label wouldn't let her sing Heart of the City or not Heart of the City. I can't think of whatever the song is. She sung for Jay-Z on his first album. They wouldn't let her sing that. She went, he gave her the cash. She sang it. She got her money. He got his hit. They got a iconic hit together later, right? So I think it just depends on how you personally structure. Are you doing a favor for a friend? Are you doing a one-off thing? Are you going through the label? It's a lot of different ways to do it. I think that what's problematic is nobody knows what's gonna be wildly successful. So if we agree to $40,000, that's what you're gonna pay me, and then I see 20 years later this song is still iconic, a lot of people have fallen out behind that sort of thing. So I think it just depends on how it's structured. If you're a realist, then right? I've worked on projects for $0 that went on to become little cult classics, right, in the independent film circuit. There's nothing that I can do about that. I'm not going back and asking them to open up your streaming monies, right? I just like the fact that my name is in those credits. But some people be sitting back broken mad and have a problem, right? And they want to come back and have something to say. So I think it just depends on how you structure it. But I think most of us that are true to our crafts, whatever that craft may be, we know it's a trade-off. We know sometimes you're not going to work for nothing. Sometimes you're going to work for chicken. Sometimes you're going to get you a major payday. Sometimes you're going to do something and it's going to turn into something bigger and open up so many more doors for you that you couldn't have even imagined. So it's all just rolling dice at the end of the day.
I have to agree with you. I mean, I have done projects where I've just been paid outright pretty big projects. And I'm okay with that because that project wasn't something near and dear to my heart. And it was someone else's vision. I didn't mind coming in and getting paid a certain amount of money for singing a song. And I'm cool with that. If it ever comes to light again, I'm still going to be cool with that. But also, this actually is something that we need to take into consideration. A lot of these people, a lot of these artists, young artists especially, do not want to learn how to hone their craft. And that includes understanding what you are signing when you're signing it. Marlo just said it. Hey, there are days that I get paid and then I don't know. Well, listen, you need to know what you're really signing, because coming back later after you done signed something saying that you've given it up, you're not going to get it. You can go to court however many times you want to. It's locked, tight, solid. But we have another video. So let's check.
And can I add to that? Can I add to that really, really quick? I just want to say that a lot of artists are caught being, the number one thing is desperate, right? They just there's some desperation in there where people are trying to get out of their situation. So you get into a room and somebody's offering you, let's say, $500,000, and you've never seen $500,000. Your family is at home starving. Y'all been eating beanies and weenies for the last 10 years or whatever, right? And you like, man, that sounds like it's going to change my life. And so you sign over your life. You guys were talking about recoupment. Recoupment is the label getting their money back plus interest, right? They're gonna get their money back. So you got to figure out how to give them. They might give you an advance. They're gonna give you that money. They're gonna give it to you. They're gonna put you in an apartment. They're gonna send you there in a limo. You got photo shoots. You got all the things. And then at the end of it, you gonna get a bill that says you owe us this back, and you are literally a slave to them until they recoup their money. And so I just think it's important that artists know, and I think they're getting it. Artists are, you can go, at this point, you can go viral on TikTok or they're figuring out how to make money for themselves, how to use the media, how to use social media to talk directly to consumer, to the people, to their tribe, to the people, and building an audience around that. And I think that's fly. I think that's dope.
I do too, but there's still a lot of them that think that they just gonna make it overnight. And I think we really should stress the fact that you really, no matter what you do, one thing that we talk about on this platform is getting your money. And a part of that is educating yourself on knowing how and when and what you're going to do with that money. How are you going to protect yourself in the long run? Because this young lady here, who's the writer for this song, I really feel sorry that she's working the 9 to 5 and she's not getting what she wants. But who's to say 5 years down the road that one thing that she did won't come back? Because music is an eternal thing, y'all. Just take somebody else to pick it up and take it to the next level. And next thing you know, you back in the picture. So let's check out another video and then we will get back into the conversation.
This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. And everyone, get ready to do your math. Okay, there are 100 points on the album. TLC had 7. Every point is equal to 8 cents. All right? 7 times 8, 56 cents. That means every time an album gets sold, TLC gets 56 cents. So 10 million records, $5.6 million. Seems like a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot of money when the record company has spent $3 million to record your album. And in the record business, we pay all costs back to the record company. We pay recording costs, video costs. So now we have $2.6 million left. Well, guess what? When you have that much money, you're in about the 47, 48, 49% tax bracket. So that immediately gets deducted to $1.3 million. Then you split the rest 3 ways. You got about $300,000 apiece, if that much. Okay? $300,000. I can buy a nice house with that. And what am I going to pay my bills with?
Left Eye was spitting that a long time ago. And I think that has a lot of reason why she's not here today as well, to be honest. But that's Lala's personal opinion. When people start telling the truth, and now there's more and more people who are telling the truth. Because at first, when you start hearing these things that she's telling you, people think, oh, that's not real. But as more and more time passes and people are coming out sharing these stories with you, you definitely know that there's something up with that. So Debra, listen, do you think that social media actually exaggerates how much artists are making?
Definitely. Definitely. They're not showing the true receipts. Yes, thank God for Left Eye. She definitely, it was being said before, but I'm glad that we have these videos to look back at because it resonates with what has been going on for years. And she was telling the honest truth. You know, you would probably buy a jacket that would cost you $100, and the label is charging you $500 for that jacket. Like, everything has been inflated, the prices have been inflated, the work that the people are doing, just so they could take back what you would be earning, which is really, really sad. It's really sad. But now in this day and age, if you have a real good old song, you put it on the internet, you can be your own producer, you can be the person who, manages how you receive your money. They're doing it just like Master P did it right out the trunk. They pop in the trunk, but it's just digital now, and they're recouping their money that way, from streams, from clicks, from, viewership. So it's other ways that you can get your money, and you don't have to even go through the labels.
That's true. Now that also brought up something. Was it J. Cole or is it The Weeknd who said he's getting ready to tour, but he's going to go back to his roots and sell his albums out the trunk of his car? There is a lot of power to that, y'all. I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many flyers my husband and I popped up in Louisville, Kentucky. Every park laid out the stuff. We got our recording studio together, the things that we were promoting on our own. We had to. You have to do all that. You have to wear all the hats in the beginning, especially in a small town. But Renee, listen, with that, because I just told you we doing all the things, but should creatives always hire an entertainment lawyer?
Absolutely. You have to have an attorney behind your back. And that's it. I mean, you need legal protection for everything that you do. And that's probably the most expensive, but I would invest in that, knowing that in the future that it will come back to me in a better way because I protect myself. And then also that attorney can probably help me understand about, again, monetization and what we can do to branch out and bring in those coins.
You got to have representation, and not just any attorney, because an entertainment attorney is just that. They specialize in the industry. So you got to be careful. Just because Cousin Ray is an attorney don't necessarily mean he's the right attorney for you. So you need to ask Cousin Ray who you got in the entertainment industry, or do your research for that as well. And even then, you still have to be careful by doing your research. But Marlo, with people being so, because it's people think artists are so desperate. What happens if they sign a bad deal early? How can they turn themselves around with that?
We have the example through Prince, right? I never forget that Prince put Slave on his face for that very reason and showed up at the Grammys. He wasn't doing it to be provocative. He was doing it because he did not have control over his birth name. His name is Prince Rogers Nelson, and Warner Brothers wanted him to cease using his birth name to record any future albums, which is how we got that symbol, right? And all of these things that go into the mystique of who Prince is because an 18 or 19-year-old Prince signed a very terrible contract with Warner Brothers, and it got him into 1 billion years of servitude with the Warner Brothers music group, like a CB in the Scientology religion, right? He was definitely, he is the example. Prince is why we have so many artists that are fighting to be independent. He actually paved the way for independence, right? Prince got a website. Prince started streaming music and having downloads, $1.99, $3.99, $5.99 on his website, because he was breaking away from the music industry. So it's a grind, right? I think that people don't understand the trade-off is You ain't may not your glam squad is the glam squad you can assemble on your own, right? You're not gonna get privy to the great glam squad. You may not get invited to all of the events that you need to be invited to, working outside of the label system, right? There's a young guy now, I can't think of his name. If y'all know his name, I want to call him Lil Ray Ray, but that's not it. He Lil somebody though. And he is a very good rapper, up and coming rapper. And he definitely was doing the underground thing. And he said it. I did it as long as I could, but you hit a plateau, right? So we talk about independence, and obviously Prince, being Prince, could come down and do independence and still maintain his stature as Prince because he already was. But when you're not Prince and you're trying to get it out the mud, it is much harder to work outside of that industry system, because the things that we think make a star, the look, the sound, the posh, right, the appearances, all of that comes through that machine. And so whenever you're working outside of that machine, circumvent, your path is much longer, right? Your pathway is much longer. So both ways are fine. Just know, do you want to be in a billion years of servitude to the label? Because that's what signing a label is going to get you. Do you want to have a very long, hard path where people always talking about you like you're an underdog? All of these are the things that you will have to think about as you want to explore being in the entertainment industry. Whether that's film, it don't matter. TV, you're a model, I don't care. The industries all run concurrently and they all run the same. So it is
And it boils down to that's being the common denominator, right? Like that's the common denominator. These companies have all the foundations that you need, and are you willing to do that, or how are you going to structure it where you can build on that foundation? But the foundation also talks about ownership and things of that nature. So, Tiara, how important is it to have your ownership over publishing? Are those two different things? What is the difference between the two?
Well, I mean, I just think that in terms of owning your own, there's a little echo. So okay, there we go. In terms of owning your own, just somebody that's put out an album last year, Love Hangover, CarmenJ.com. As someone that's put out an album in the last year, I had to navigate a lot of new things about publishing and masters, who owns what, if somebody is co-writing with you, what that means, if this person, who owns what, BMI or ASCAP. Like, I had to ask myself all of these questions, and the benefit of all, if I'm streaming, I mean, I held out for a very long time in terms of streaming, even because I was like, I don't want to stream. I kind of want to do what Nipsey Hussle did. And I don't know, Marlo, if you're talking about the Russell, but right, I thought you were. All right, so like that whole Russell Nipsey Hussle model, unless it's tough to do things like that because it has to literally come out your pocket, or you have to do a Patreon, or just so many things to consider. And who owns what? If you get an investor, then who owns the music? Do you own the music? How do you structure your contracts? I had somebody come in that was like, yeah, I want to give you some money. I was like, yeah, but what does that mean? When you give me money, what does that mean? And he was like, I could just be like the executive producer of your music. No, you can't, right? That's it. This is not television, because television is different, right? I think he had been coming in as an investor on some of the television things that I did. He was like, we'll just do the same for music. No, we won't, right? So my point is, but it's harder, like you just said, Lala, and I'm sure you can attest to this. It is difficult. I've had to create just to give you a glimpse, I've had to create my own R&B boot camp. So all the things that we're talking about, like I've had to go get a choreographer and a vocal coach. And I sing at the choir at church just so I could be closer to Erica Campbell and Tina and them and learn from them. That's not the only reason, but like there's a lot of musicians at my church. So I'm like, okay, I can learn here as a vocalist, but I love the Lord too, right? So I've had to be very strategic about the way I've even like structured my life in a way. And obviously it doesn't hurt to be in a space where people are and you can network. But just being very strategic about the way that I've had to live my life as an artist. You know, so I would just say that it's a you just got to do it for the love of the thing. Like when I go, even though I invest right now, music is my crack habit. That's what I call it. I'm not on crack, but I'm on music. And so it just every time I get a little money, I'd be like, well, I could pay for this. We got a new video coming out. Oh, I'm gonna go to the studio. It's like, and you don't know. You have no idea, you know, not you don't know how to monetize it, but you have to be very creative about ways to monetize in this climate because people don't want to pay for music. Why pay for your music when I can just go and get it? You know, I can get it, I can watch it, or I can pay pennies to stream it or whatever, right? So anyway, don't have me going because I did you know that for an artist to earn $1, you got to stream their song 80 times for us to make $1. I didn't want to put my music on that shit, but in order for me to be for me to have my Grammy consideration nomination, I had to have a streaming service. Anyway, it's been a
No, that
year.
people don't, but these are the things that people need to know. Like
Been a
we
year.
are doing the same struggle. Listen, when we're doing those rooftop video shoots that we did, we're paying other musicians to come and be in there. We're paying the videographer. We're paying the editor. You know, Lala learned how to do some serious video and special shots with some gimbals. Okay. And then the bigger shots to be able to give to another person to do that. People just think all this is magic. This is not some magic unicorn thing. And then you don't want to come out here and pay us for doing that. All of a sudden, oh, it's a beautiful song. Thank you. How's my album? How about here's my album? How about you pay me for my album? Because you don't want to go to your 9-to-5 job and not get paid that week. Lala's off the soapbox now. Let's look at some stats.
Where should we go?
Telling you, hard work.
We can go on. I'm sure
On
between
and
Lala
on
and
and
myself,
on.
we can
Telling
go
you.
on.
Streaming platforms often pay fractions of a cent per stream. How you think of a penny, which they don't make anymore, y'all. Pennies are not being made no more. They are actually giving you a fraction, like 1/8 of a penny. Okay. Tierra just told you 80 streams is going to get you $1. You lucky if that. Snoop Dogg and all other people talk about that as well, how they're not getting paid on these streaming platforms. Songwriters typically split publishing percentages among multiple contributors. Didn't I tell you there's 50,000 people on one album? I think we know our stuff around here. Many record deals include recoupment clauses, meaning advances must be repaid before profits are distributed. So you thinking you getting cute out here in all these little outfits and stuff, but baby, you got to get that back. All right. And then publishing ownership is one of the primary ways songwriters build long-term wealth. There is a difference. That's why Diane Warren is big pimping in Hollywood now. Unbreak My Heart is still paying her. But girlfriend runs her business, her music business, like a business. That woman gets up every day and goes into work in her own little workplace, 8 a.m. She's there sometimes 7 a.m. in the morning and doesn't leave until 7 and 8 at night. You have to watch your craft. You must hone it, to know it, to own it. These are the things that you need to think about. Now let's check out a couple of comments and then we're going to have another video. We've got lots of great conversation. Armando had to bring this up. Now listen, y'all listen, you talking about my husband, my second husband. My husband was okay because my husband loved him first anyway. Okay. It all started when Prince tried to run over Michael Jackson and his mama. A wild story, but yes, it is very much true. And they're loving on your dreads, Marlo. The Real Black Lexicon said Whitney and many of our greats had no issue with the influential church worship influence. That's right. You got to surround yourself by what you want to be a part of your circle. So Tierra, that ain't nothing. I mean, you surround yourself with great people. You are amongst there. They tell you that in masterminds, right? The Real Black Lexicon says the very best were made that way. Aretha and others. And then Anonymous says, I don't believe Summer Walker is broke. She's a moron, but she's not broke. We're not talking about Summer Walker. We're talking about her the songwriter who helped her album. And now I've got that story straight. And then Dennis says, does products that is a few cents under a certain dollar point get readjusted? I'm gonna throw that to you, Tiara, before we go into this video. Do you know anything about that? Do products that is a few cents under a certain dollar point get readjusted?
I'm not sure. Does products that is a few cents under certain?
Clarify,
Yeah,
Dennis, because that's a
you
good
gotta tell me what you
question.
mean.
That's a
I'm
good
like,
question. Clarify.
like products, like songs? Like, what are we talking about? I'm confused.
Yeah, just clarify, because that seems like I think I have an idea where you're going with that, and that's a good question. Let's check out this video. We'll come right back.
Y'all got. Okay, so I really like as we prepare to play this video because I wasn't ready. I really liked how vocal T-Pain has been about his struggles with the music industry, how he literally made $40 million and lost it. Just not understanding what the industry was. And so let's play a video from T-Pain, shall we?
Gone through this, people I look up to, they would have just said that, look, it's not all great. It's not gonna be fine this whole time. If I would have known that, I would have been mentally prepared, first of all, prepared myself financially. I would have put something aside. But from people that came before me, even rock stars, rappers, singers, it's just like, nope, this whole thing is just money all the time. You're good at something, it's just gonna be money, always. Nobody's ever been like, so this goes away after a while.
He really brings up a good point. And Renee, I'm going to throw this to you because now we're getting into shemini part. So listen, what role does financial literacy really play in the music industry? I know every other thing that we do, but we're going to talk specifically about what role does financial literacy play in music? Because T-Pain just hit that.
It should, and it plays a critical role in the music industry because we have to understand our numbers. We have to understand where everything is coming from and how it all pieces together, from the producer to everybody's on your album, all of those things. You have to understand the financial impact that is going to have on you. But of course, as artists, and I'm a scientist, so I don't have that. It's a difference. It's a difference, right? So what I understand, you like, it was my craft. This is what I do. I have to be, I'm spending all these hours to hone my energy. Okay. But we need to also put in there financial literacy if you want to keep your craft going and get paid for that craft 10 years from now. And I know it's hard to think about that, but and for any industry, for us, we all have to think about putting a little money to the side because we just don't know what's going to happen, right? No, never, ever.
And that's the thing. Everything is unsure. Nothing is written in stone. Nothing is written in stone. But Debra, do you think that the industry is unfair or just complex?
I think you have to do your due diligence in the industry. You have to fact check and double check and triple check, and you may have to hire somebody to check the person who's doing the work for you, because if you're trying to focus on being an artist, sometimes you get caught up in creating, writing, making sure everything runs smoothly, and then you're not thinking, you're making the money, but you're not thinking about how it's being distributed. And if you, like I said, I put a comment in about T-Pain, he had his investor investing in, we're going to buy these whole, row of houses. And he didn't double check the area. And he didn't make any money. He lost a lot of money behind that. And so you do have to have somebody you can trust, and just prayerfully they don't rip you off. But, you have to have those things in place.
And can I say just one more thing about what I heard about, Kevin Hart. So when he's getting his skits together, he doesn't just have one writer, he has 3 writers, and then he can make a comparison. I started doing that with everything that I do. your bank accounts, what you need to do. I throw it off into, I get 3 different bids or 3 different resources. They don't have to know that they're bidding against each other, but it's good to not just go with one person. And I think that's what we all, as an artist, as a, understanding where you are, get 2 or 3 people and let them tell you what you need. And then you start taking the bits and then pull it together for yourself. So, that's, because I'm a Fiverr queen. So I'm always getting bids. And, so yeah.
I think this is good business practice.
That's true. In business, they always say get 3 quotes and then write the check. So we should look at it that way too. In any industry, 3 quotes, write the check.
I think the only problematic thing I see, right, as a creative, when we're talking about this, we talking about how the songwriter ain't making money, right? Kevin Hart getting 3 writers, cool. As a creative, collaboration is the thing. But then in 6 months, we'll be talking about Kevin Hart, comedy writers ain't seeing no money because of the splits, y'all, right? So creatives, unless you start your own production company, unless you start your own publishing company, unless you put yourself in a position where your creativity funnels money back to you, being a creative is always a losing endeavor, right? And I think that most of us understand that signing up to be a creative, you understand that there is a bit of loss. When you work for a company, people think, oh, you writing for Marvel, you don't own any of that which you are writing, right? You are lending your intellectual property to a company. So I think that when we talk about creatives, it's not really much different from the corporate structure, because if you create something within a corporate structure, you don't own that either, right? That corporation owns that idea the minute you turn it over to them. So I think that that's because creatives, right, we get to see their job events. If you, Renee, if you have a health tech science fair conference, TV cameras are not going to be in there, right? But at the Oscars, they are. At the Grammys, they are. At the Emmys, they are. Those are industry events, right, that everybody gets the peep in, because we've determined these industries are the industries of the people to be watched. And so I think that as we talk about entertainers and creatives, it's always kind of a, you should just do your business better. But the business is for your face to be out there. The business is for your voice and your thoughts to be out there. That is the business aspect of it. And I think that it just is a little bit different, because the commodities are the people that we see. The commodities are the songs that we bop into, right? We doing like all of that. That's the commodity of it, right? Does the artist have a big enough draw, a big enough name to be able to branch out and pay money? We always talk about how much Beyonce concert tickets cost. They cost a lot because she spends the money up front. The record label is not putting on that concert. She has, for several concerts dating back to before Destiny's Child was officially over, been investing in those concerts herself and trying to recoup that money, right? That is business. If it was anything else, we would applaud it, but we don't want to pay to be entertained. Entertainment should be free. But if somebody makes a hair care product and it's $26 a bottle, we like, girl, get your money. You put them coconuts in there by yourself. The same is with creatives. We just look at it differently, because the underlying fact that people don't want to say is that most people think that being a creative, being a performer is something that anybody can do. And everybody does not have the wherewithal to do it.
No.
Yeah, listen, baby, this has got to be your life purpose. This is not I'm gonna write a song and get rich quick and never have to think again. You have got to have this in your bones. You have got to be able to willing to do, what does it say? Anything that you want to do, that you got to be willing to do it free, right? We don't want to do it for free, but when it's in your bones like that, you can't stop it. I'm going to tell you right now, when my husband and I are out, when we go riding, when we watching movies, whatever, my husband's wheels are constantly turning. He has so many songs, he cannot get them down fast enough. So even if he didn't want to do music, he didn't have a choice, because that's what is in him. That's what's bred in him. That is every fiber of his being. You have to be able to get that out. And sometimes it may not be what people think it is, but you don't have a choice because that is what you are and that is what you do. We have another video. Have we read it, Miss Producer? While you're pulling it up, let me answer a couple of questions. You got something to say?
Well, no, I was just gonna tee us up for it, but if you want to ask some questions, that's cool. I was gonna tee us up for this next thing.
This we've had a lot of people, so I wanted to just go back in and see who all has said something with us. Dennis clarified he wanted to know what was going on with the pennies. Well, yes, they're not being made anymore. A lot of places are rounding up as they phase them out. So yes, you're getting shortchanged right now, literally, while they're trying to make sure that this balances out. And then the Black Lexicon says, if your name is recognized and respected, you can sell anything with your name on it. That's a good point, because even when you're going out on these tours, most of the money comes from your merchandising. I recently went to a Lenny concert. Oh my God, it was the best concert. And my man wasn't even selling his music, y'all. There was no albums there to buy. There was no, I'm gonna date myself. There was no cassette tapes there to buy. There was none of that stuff. It literally was all merch, jackets, posters, keychains, you name it. But look at how the level he is too. And he knows that even the music there is not going to sell. Dennis wants to know, and if anybody knows this, does musical artists file 1099s or W-2? That's part of finances. Go ahead, T.
Yeah, it just depends on how you set up your business, right? Or you set it all up. So Carmen J has an LLC, and under that, that's where we house the things that happen, the business that'll happen. So if somebody comes and asks me to perform, they can have me they can have me come as a 1099, which I would prefer, because you don't want to be, you're not an employee unless you work for, if it's an employee kind of situation, which could be like maybe you're a songwriter for a business or a company, and maybe they 1099 you, depending on the way you set it up. But for most artists, we just do an independent kind of structure. But an LLC 1099, that's how that works.
That's how we have set ours up from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Now, are we ready for our video?
Yeah, so I just want to say this, because this is actually the video that you sent me, but I was just thinking about how many artists are having to do things outside of, the only people I can really think of are like the young lady that was on the Bernie Mac show that was like, I'm gonna get an OnlyFans. I'm just thinking about artists. I can't think of a specific, no, Black China wasn't. I'm trying to think of somebody that was like, that sang songs that also got on OnlyFans. But most women that are rappers have been like, are coming from like the stripper pole, but it's kind of all the same. But I wanted to just introduce that whole idea, like rappers sold drugs to get into, or that was the funnel into the music industry, because it was so expensive. They sold drugs and then, made a lot of money and was able to be like, play my songs. There's this story of Jay-Z and them going to the radio station with a duffel bag and just saying like, play my song, right? Because they were independent. A lot of women are either using stripping for that, and obviously we're going to find out that somebody was using OnlyFans to right, as an offset or
to basically even
the last European tour that I went on, I lost I think 26 grand, and the last UK tour that I went on, I lost about 13 grand. 6 days before the tour in Europe, I had to let go of a crew member. It was around Christmas. I've won a Brit Award. I've made the company Universal a lot of money. I still make them a lot of money to this day, even though I'm not signed to them anymore. And if I had not toured my first record, Made of Bricks, there's no way that impact would have been as significant. The only reason it's possible for me to keep doing that, even though I have Made of Bricks in my catalogue, is I sell pictures of my bum on the internet. I started an OnlyFans account during my last touring cycle to get some attention on the issue, which it did. I was in every newspaper in the country. I don't know how Kate Nash now would start a career when I worked in Nando's and my mum was a nurse, and I have no connections and no sort of disposable financial support from parents. I really don't know how I would be able to do it. I don't think that I would have been able to have the career that I have if I was starting now. We're desperate as artists for any help that the government is willing to give us would be great.
That just breaks my heart. Now, I don't know anything about that woman's music. All I know is she's obviously someone that people desire to hear and to listen to, but she's not making the money doing what her life purpose is. She's making the money, as she says, selling her bum on the internet. There is something logistically broken. And what are we going to do about that? Oh, Lord, be quiet. I had that on Do Not Disturb. Go away, people. They listening, y'all. They listening. Anyway, you have to be careful with what you sign, regardless. Now we're going to start winding this down. That just breaks my heart. And I would love to hear everyone's final thoughts and where we can find you. So, Debra, we're going to start with you. What are your final thoughts and where can we find you?
My final thoughts today are keep your skill sets up, people. In this industry, you may have to go back to customer service work or administrative assistant work. Don't burn bridges, network, and do your very best. Like you were saying earlier, anything you would do for free is your passion. And so, don't give up your passion. There's hope in your dreams. So continue to strive. But, also know you may have to do some hustling on the side. Don't sell your bum on OnlyFans, though. Please don't do that. Don't do that. My name is Debra E. Williams. This has been a great conversation today. And Debra will win on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you, Debra. Renee, what is your final thoughts and where can we find you?
Thank you. Final thoughts is the industry isn't really broken. It's designed to do exactly what it's been doing. So what for us and for creators and for anyone is that we have to change our mindset to being an owner of whatever you're doing. And that will make a big difference in your life. So my name is Renee Williams. I'm a co-founder of Tricycle Sync. When 70% of women feel unheard and Black women are dying at 3 times the rate, we can't afford silence. Tricycle Sync is one app for your cycle, for menopause and maternal health, and it transforms I don't feel right to the evidence the doctors can't ignore. So tap in, find out if it's not for you, maybe it's for your auntie, your sister, your little, so a woman in your life can benefit for having receipts. Thank you.
I absolutely love that. And by the way, it is March and it is Women's Month. And thank you for reminding of that, Walterine. She always keeps us in check. So don't forget, go love on a woman and support a woman today. And Renee is right in that platform. Okay. So make sure that you do that because everybody's important. But guess what? You wouldn't be here without a woman either. So Marlo, what is your final thoughts and where can we find you?
My final thought is don't be wowed by the smoke and mirrors of the entertainment industry. If you have dreams of being a creative and having your work out there for the masses to see, go in with your eyes wide open, not eyes wide shut. Understand that you are going into a business, right? Even if you're doing it on a small independent level, you are going into business for yourself and you're going to have to do things in a business way. So just be sure that you are not having blinders on. And for the general public, don't have blinders on. Yes, y'all get and sit inside of the entertainment industry work events. Y'all get invited into the luncheons and the things that you don't attend in your own industry, but you get to go for the entertainment industry. Don't be wild by things that are edited and chopped and put together to create a story. Just be realistic. If you like realism, you can follow me. That is my Instagram handle right there at the bottom. I love to talk to people. You talk to me, much like T-Pain, I'll talk back. And, follow your girl. I have some little things that I'm working on for y'all to see, and I would love to connect.
You need to do that because I told y'all Marlo is one of my favorite people to follow. She's sneaky, snarky. I love that. I like that. She be getting little digs and be like, "Oh, I wish I was that snarky. I wish I could do it." I really love following Marlo. Okay, Tiara, what is your final thoughts and where can we find you?
Okay, so my final thoughts is this. Like I said, I've been here in Hollywood. I'm 22 now. I moved here when I was 22, right? And so I have been here for quite some time, and I've learned a lot about the business. I've learned a lot about entertainment, about storytelling, and I had to get really creative about the way I've lived my life here. It's like you can make it. When I first got here, I was like, I really want to work in this business. And I remember running into Angela Bassett, who is the reason why I became an actress, when I first got here, after Hurricane Katrina. And I was like, I just got here from New Orleans and I really want to work here. She was like, well, all you have to do is you work on your craft, and you keep working, and you just never give up on the thing that you want to do, and you'll be just fine. Right. And that was 20 years ago, and it stuck with me ever since. Just saying, like, just keep going. Just keep going, and stay connected to it. Find a way to connect to it. Every day I use my creativity as my business. And it allowed me to pay for my crack habit, which is music, right? Or if I want to make a movie or something, it's like being creative is what I get to do every day. Now, I've baselined that as storytelling. I just learned how to tell stories every single way. I can act in your movie. I can write a song. I can produce your movie. I can, you know what I mean? I can do it through directing and podcasting. And that really is a blessing. But the baseline of all of that is storytelling. And so I would just say, if you can creatively process your talent in a way like I have, and make it commercial and kind of work for others, now I can help other people storytell in different ways. It's really just changed my life. It's changed my my journey. And so I would encourage every creative out there that may be like, but I'm a songwriter and all I do is write songs. No, 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 baby. You storytell, you tell stories. So figure out other, and I know that's not the only good thing you can do. So figure out how to make that thing universal and diversify that talent, and you'll be just fine. You feel me? So if you're looking for me, I would say go to karmaj.com if you're interested in. And I noticed people have still been buying I feel like an artist when y'all buy my albums. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Y'all go to karmaj.com. That's KHARMAJAI.com. And ever so once in a while, I just noticed like somebody bought your album and downloaded it. And it just makes me feel like an artist. It makes me feel like the 3 years that I spent making an album, like blood, sweat, and tears, writing lyrics, writing it out as poetry, coming back to the studio, trying to hit notes that wouldn't, all of it is like really just, every time you listen and say what your favorite songs are and all of that, it really just touches my heart. So I really appreciate that. Go to karmaj.com, download the album, hop in a listening room, and support real artistry, y'all. It's not AI over here.
No, not over in this house either. So I get it. Please make sure that you go and support, because the album is fabulous. Like, no joke. I'm not saying that just because we're on the show. It is. You want to talk about storytelling? This is a story to be told. You need to make sure that you go and download that, support your local artists. Like I said, you go to your 9 to 5 and you want your check every bi-weekly or monthly or weekly when you get it. Please make sure that you support local artists. Our blood, sweat, and tears go into that as well. Now, here's what I got to say. Regardless of whatever you do, do it well. And don't always put all of your eggs in one basket. There is a thing where you can be creative with music and not just be a songwriter. You can also help other people. You can help write other people's songs with them. You can, help someone with their stage. You can organize a whole show around several different artists. It doesn't mean you have to go outside of what your life purpose is, because that is a part of your industry as well. Know it good, know it well, know what you're signing. Make sure that you have good representation so that you also understand that it's okay to struggle a little bit, but it's also okay to see those fruits of your labor bloom. What they say, a little mustard seed can do for you. Sometimes you have to plant that and just know that your blessing is coming. So I am Laura.A, key international real estate agent. And listen, guys, I have something big coming. I'm super excited about it. And it is going to help people get seen. Not just these young kids who want to get on here and do the TikTok dances and all that stuff. That's great. That's fine. But when you're a seasoned person and you know your craft and you're kind of lost on like, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to get out here and be seen? I have a new thing for you called Seasoned and Seen. So if you want more information on that, go to my website, sign up for my newsletter. And when it is ready to be out there for you, I'm building up this momentum here, you'll be ready to step right on into that. And that is Laura.net. Listen, this was a really good conversation today, especially one that hits home for me. I mean, we out here in these streets doing the thing, but one hit actually doesn't automatically mean wealth. So in creative industries, money follows ownerships, percentages, and contract terms. If you do not control your publishing or understand your splits, the numbers may not look how social media makes them look. So before chasing exposure, creatives need to understand how income flows in the long term. Ownership builds wealth, and paperwork determines your outcome. So thank you for my queens who are here today. We appreciate this beautiful conversation. Listen, if you don't want to miss any of these shows, all you need to do is text the word queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Make sure that you do that. You'll get notified. I've been getting I get notified all the time. Ding! And I know when I'm supposed to be on the show. And even when I'm not supposed to be on the show. So do that. And then if you miss any of our shows, you always can go back and check them out on Spotify. So make sure that you go to Spotify and you look for us there as well. I am so appreciative of you. Thank you for coming. Happy March. Spring is here, baby. Get them bunnies out and let's get a hippity hoppity to it. All right. Be blessed. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.